And we're back with another PCBH Corner. We have a fantastic topic. I'm Dr. Beachy, and I'm joined by
Dr. Bauman.
All right, so I cannot wait to pick your brain a little bit on this. We've been wanting to do a PCBH Corner on some of the realities of PCBH and kind of give almost an informed consent, really specifically about what this work is. And a lot of this stemmed from our internship that, you know, with it being a match system for our internship to a certain extent, and a lot of the folks that are coming into this, they might not know exactly what they want. Right. You know, they might think that they want something.
Right. Hey, primary care sounds cool, sounds interesting, you know, yeah, let's just test this out, let's try this out.
Yeah, so we started saying things like, well, didn't you go over during the interview about X? Didn't you go over that? But to be honest, it's really just a tough context. And to be able to absorb all that information on an interview day to see if this is really where you want to go and to consider, you know, do I rank or do I not? So we wanted to make a video where we just put it all out on the table with regards to some of the realities of PCBH. And this is going to sound harsh, but if we get all this stuff out on the table and this is not something that appeals to you, you might want to really look into whether or not this is the route you want to go.
Yeah, and you made a snippet on this, and a really popular snippet, and I think it was a great one to make about you don't want to work here. And there's some joking to that, there's some like humor to it, and there's like a very serious kind of thing about like, are you sure you know what this job is? Are you sure this is what you're going to do? Because, I don't know, I think it is something that I have a lot of grace and compassion for systems out there that, you know, there's a dearth of behavioral health providers, we know that. And then there's an equal, probably greater extent within that small group of people that have been trained and want to do PCBH. But we're just all desperate to try to get people into the system. It's like, no matter what, we'll just take everything. So I think this is not only a video about talking about some of the realities, it's also a video for directors about talking about the importance of informed consent towards the person, the applicant, and also reminding yourself what the literature continues to promote. Don't hire the wrong person. Like, don't what would be the way of saying it, try to shape this as like, oh, it will be okay. You know, it's like it won't be. It won't be. So from both ends, the applicant and the directors and the hiring people, about what are the realities and just being very real about that.
And yeah, and so this video, y'all, is for you. So if you're an applicant and you're looking at Community Health in Central Washington for your predoctoral internship or postdoctoral fellowship, if you're considering applying for a job at CHCW, this video is for you. I don't know if I can speak on behalf of, or we could speak on behalf of all the other PCBH places, because from what I've seen, we have a pretty unique system here. So do we want to get into it? Just put it on the table?
Yeah. I think where my mind goes for the first initial ones, man. And let's also talk about this with grace, love, and compassion, because I think a lot of times, at least my mind predicts, what we say can get kind of turned into, my first one was going to be about like the 40-hour work week. And I say that with a caveat. It's like, of course I don't want the team to work over 40 hours. Like, of course I think it would be a good thing to do like a 4-day work week, and we're working towards that and just different things. And there is a reality, like, yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to work more than 40 hours, particularly within primary care. And not just with more than 40 hours, more than 8 hours in a day, that there might be handoffs over lunch. There might be handoffs that come in at 5 o'clock that you're gonna have to stay late for. That is something that having informed consent about will happen. And that we need everybody that's a BHC kind of on board and embracing that this is something that we're all going to do. And so it's not just one person always doing the late handoff or staying through lunch, that the entire team needs to embrace that reality.
And as we've said in other videos, the irony is if everybody buys in and agrees to work through lunch at times and stay late for a late handoff at times, when everyone's doing that, it is spread out amongst the team with the ultimate goal of trying to get people home on time, to leave at 5 o'clock or to leave at, you know, to be able to take a lunch. And the other thing that we do, so I see why you're hesitant, you know, because I very much value taking breaks.
Exactly.
I mean,
we want people to have their lunch.
I've given folks permission to take naps, like to go into an exam room, close the door.
We have a moon pod right in here.
Yeah, we have a bean bag, essentially. It's a moon pod in my office that I've told folks that if you want to come and take a nap, like throughout the day. So say, for example, you're working clinic all day and you take a 12:02 handoff with the lunch being 12 o'clock approximately, and then it goes to 12:30. So now you've missed 28 minutes of your lunch. I've said before, like, you know, see if you can, if your patient isn't quite there at 1, see if you can go take an extra 15 minutes. See if maybe your patient is there right away, but at 3:30 there's a lull. I say as long as you have access to your phone so that you can be able to get, like, people can get a hold of you, go for a 20-minute walk.
Well, that's another one then, right? That would be another informed consent about, you know, when you're in clinic within our system. And I'm glad that you said that at the beginning. Like, hey, if you're an intern applicant or a fellow applicant or just a regular applicant for CHCW, you can really use this video kind of literally. You know, for other systems, we can't speak to the other systems within, but within our system is that you have to be accessible. There isn't a time that if you are scheduled to be in clinic that you are essentially on and need to be accessible. So that means not only like, hey, if you need to run out and I don't know what it would even be, like maybe at lunch, right? That, hey, I need to go take a lunch real quick, I'm gonna be a little bit late. You need to have your phone with you. Say you're gonna step outside real quick to get some fresh air and stuff. That's fine, but you just need to make sure that if a handoff comes through, people are able to get a hold of you for it. If you're with a patient and something's going on, like, and handoffs are coming through, you have to respond to those handoffs with ETAs. That's a non-negotiable, that you have to do those things. And the thing that I really like that you said before, the irony is when everybody's bought into this, largely we get to really promote a cool sense of wellness within the system. Everybody has to be bought in though, because if everybody's not bought in and there's not informed consent, then it starts to get a little bit unwieldy.
I'm going a little bit off on this script of like what I had envisioned this video to be and where we are now, but that point that you just made is so good, because if everyone's getting their productivity to where they need it to be, and if everybody is saying, hey, you know, I'll take that handoff, I'll do this, I'll do that, what shakes out most of the time is that you don't have to always work through lunch, and you don't always have to stay late. And when the productivity is up and your revenue is up, now all of a sudden, how we do it in our system is if you're in paperwork time, which is a half day a week, I tell people, I mean, you can come into the office, but stay in the basement or go somewhere else. Do not be on the floor.
Yeah.
And you have zero obligation during that 4-hour time to answer anything. I say go to the spa, go to the gym,
go for a walk,
go golfing, sleep in. I don't care what you do. When you are basically scheduled for a 4-hour paperwork time, you have no obligation. The only thing that I ask for in return is that you keep up with your documentation. So if you decide to do your documentation from 6 or 7 in the morning until the start of clinic, and then on Friday morning when you have assigned paperwork time, you're done with all your charts, go to the golf course.
You know, so those are two things I think are also kind of expectations that informed consent wise, like, you know, if you're not okay with this, you know, you don't want to work here, is mixing this, like, one, it's going to be high productivity. And that also means, like, you got to get your notes done. You got to get your charts done. You know, so I think that first one of the high productivity, I know that always, as soon as I say it, my mind just like holds such an interesting relational frame with it. It just sounds bad to say. And the thing that we are very intentional about, we've made videos about this and numerous conversations about really making sure we're explaining the why behind the high productivity. We're not doing high productivity for finances or just for high productivity's sake. We're doing a high productivity because it reflects our values.
Well, and if it was the finances, it's so that we can grow the team, adequately pay folks, attract, so recruit and retain, and then guess what? Be able to help more people. So that's you're right, the end goal is helping more people. The finances help along the way.
Is an indirect, what is it, a means, not the end of the kind of the value and the goal there. So I think that's a big thing about...
Yeah, that's good, means not the end.
Yeah, that's a big thing with, I think, when we're talking with people about you will be busy, it will be demanding, you have to think on your feet, you're going to get interrupted, you know, all those different things that go into having high productivity, just making sure people have informed consent about that this is going to be a requirement. And this is something that I've been really grateful. Oh, go ahead.
Just really quick, before we freak anybody out, when we say high productivity, I think we mean relative to the mental health field, compared to primary care, it's actually very low. So our minimum productivity for an 8-hour day is 8.4 to be specific. 8.4 patients per day is our minimum for our cores who've been here for a year.
And 8.4, as we always say, like billable visits, largely billable visits, 95%. Now, here's the thing. I mean, as soon as you say that,
I should just say in clinical encounters.
In clinical encounters, yeah. And I think that still could freak people out. I think that even saying that, though, I think
well,
that could,
then maybe it does. But in our system, if you show up,
you should be able to.
You're going to get that because the system will give you handoffs. You don't have to. I mean, in some cases, you might have to go hunting, but you can. It is completely feasible to do the 8.5. Anyways.
Right.
Oh, sorry, what were you going to say?
Point. So I think that's where we have done actually a lot of different things with our interns this year, and I've been really grateful for Emily Faust, one of our BHCs, one of our psychologists, who basically was, and this, my mind gets always worried about this because it can seem like we're being patronizing a little bit, like we're telling people like how to run their lives or something like that. The thing that we've done, though, is we've said very beginning, like we've had a thing, it's like this is how we call it adulting, which is probably why it feels patronizing, because that's a patronizing way of saying it.
Well, I mean, I need help with adulting, so it's fine.
About how do you have to approach this work with intentionality, schedules, being when you're going to do work, when you're going to do your charts, when you're going to take care of yourself and stuff. So we very much like put our interns through a crash course about you have to look Outlook, you have to use Outlook calendar because that's the calendar we use. What other planners are you using? What other things are you doing to set up to be intentional throughout the day? And I think that's another informed consent piece that probably what made you successful to get to this job isn't going to allow you to be that successful in this job. So you have to be thinking about ways of, hey, how can I structure my schedule more? You talk about paperwork, like we always say, what do notes not do? They don't stop.
I was going to say write themselves.
They don't. That's a better way. It's like they don't write themselves and they don't stop. And so with that reality is that we have to be intentional about, hey, if you're seeing 8.4, if you're seeing 10 patients a day, when are you doing notes? How are we making sure these are getting completed? How do you approach the notes and the documentation in a way that, again, is going to allow them to be completed and not write themselves? That's part of this informed consent process as well.
That is really good. And I think just when you were talking, it sparked my mind about putting another thing on the table. That is difficult, informed consent-wise.
Yeah.
This job will push you, like you're saying, in different ways. And so having patience with yourself and knowing that I will have endless amount of patience, because in my opinion, and based on other snippets, I've said this before, I truly think it takes 3 years to become a good BHC.
No doubt.
And by good BHC, I mean, to put some numbers to that, that you're always up in your documentation, that you're hitting a minimum, not maximum, minimum of 8.4 or 4.2 per half day, with your productivity, that you're meeting, about 3 warm handoffs, averaging a day. And I know 3 doesn't sound like a lot. These numbers don't sound like a lot. But they do, and they add up when it's week after week after week. And sorry, y'all, I'm gonna call out some systems, like not specific systems, but I haven't seen a lot of data from other systems that are saying. And so you read in the books and you read in the articles about 5-6 handoffs a day and 12 visits and all these different things. I haven't seen that data.
Correct. And I think that's a big thing about understanding the amount of work and effort and what you need to know to get to that point in 3 years, that these are numbers that are just happening.
And exactly, be consistent.
Can be consistent. And as we're talking about averages, as we always love to make that joke, it's like, if someone's like, I think, I said this in the last quarter, it's like, I think I average this. It's like, well, I don't care, because you need to have a number about what you actually average. We always remember those days that we saw 12 or 14 patients.
I just went through that when I was calculating my productivity for this month. I had several that were like 10, 12 for a full day, and then I forgot about the day that I saw 6 patients. Right.
And then what does that average out to? And I think related to that also is this informed consent piece about, you're going to see, again, for us, within CHCW and within our system and the way we see PCBH, you're going to see all ages, You go see all conditions. You're not going to specialize. There isn't. I had a conversation recently with some of our interns about this. With like, oh, I have a specific interest in that. It's like, well, we all have specific interests, and that's great. There is nothing though that goes into this idea about specializing and seeing certain patients or not seeing certain patients. So that's a big thing that we want to make sure to promote. And we're having some conversations outside. Should we pause real quick? What time is it? 6:56. Is someone outside?
Yeah.
Who is it? Is it Corey?
It's probably Corey.
Corey? Hey, there he is. Okay, good. That's one of our interns, actually. That's just let you know, Corey, we're filming a PCBH Corner. We can keep all this. We don't have to edit this out.
We're almost done.
We're almost done. So having that informed consent process about, and that not only like all ages, you're also going to have to learn about all conditions. So, and there isn't this sense, because I know our mental health people, grace, love, and compassion for all of us in mental health, the way we've approached this is like if we're not, if we don't know about something specifically, it means that it's like, oh, we just refer that out. It's like, no. You're going to learn about it. You're going to study about it. You're going to figure it out to make sure that we can keep a lot of this stuff in. I
think that is another really good one about that informed consent process, that if you're working with us, you're going to be, there's not a lot of places to refer to.
Correct.
So you're gonna have to learn to work with it in-house. And then, oh gosh, there was another point. Oh, about specializing. I'm gonna steal this line from my late college basketball coach, Coach Galbraith. Very good guy. I learned so much from him. I never knew I'd learn so much about like my career and life from this college basketball coach, but he said to one of us one time, hey, because we disagreed with some type of drill or something, he's like, listen, when you have your own team, you can run it however you want. And I don't mean that in like I
use that all the time.
In a completely like serious way, but if you're coming into our system and you think that you're gonna spend the majority of your time or even a big chunk of your time doing psychological testing or doing specialty work, that's just not going to happen here. So informed consent wise,
that's a big thing.
Our goals and our missions are clear, and our mission is clear. We are going to see patients, take care of our medical team, and take care, as a team member. Showing up as a really good team member, and then we're going to take care of our community. So see patients and see them now. That's all that matters.
Well, and I just got an email actually, coincidentally, about this morning, about someone interested in our internship program, but they really want to do assessments. And the response back that I'm going to say is that, listen, you're going to get some exposure to some relevant primary care measures for sure. If your value, though, is assessments,
it's probably not a great fit.
It's probably not a great fit. And I think we need to be more okay and comfortable saying that, because oftentimes like our minds almost like want to trick us into believing that this is going to be okay. And it's just one of those things, like if you are very motivated and you have a value related to assessment and testing in a traditional manner, it's like, yeah, it probably isn't going to be the best.
Or they could do a side hustle.
And something, I think even though with that side hustle, I think it's going to be a tough thing, just a value within the day job that you're going to have, because there's a lot of different reasons why people might be approaching assessments from a value place. I think that's the thing though as well, also kind of giving that informed consent. Not to say that PCBH isn't going to evolve or iterate. It just means like we're primary care. So we're not going to do specialized kind of things, and having informed consent about that, even with like treatment protocols and just different things like, like this is primary care, and making sure there's informed consent about what primary care is. Last thing, and I know we got to wrap up with this. I would say that just also the non-negotiables about you got to see patients in exam rooms, you got to sit in the medical pods, you got to huddle and round with the team.
You need to be responsive within, we said 3 minutes, but it's probably within 60 seconds.
Those things need to be set up front, that it's like there isn't deviation from this. Like this is what the expectation is, similar to the 8.4 and the 3 handoffs, similar to you're going to see all patients, all conditions. You might have to take late handoffs through lunch and work late after 5. All those things should probably be laid out at the beginning. It's like this is what the job is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's your mind go? Oh.
It's going lots of places because, there's so much nuance to this, and I think that if you come here, you'll find that there is creativity and flexibility and opportunities to really stretch your mind and how you see things and what you can contribute innovation-wise. And at the same time, there's core principles. And as I was telling one of our postdocs, I said, listen, like, we're a hamburger stand. There ain't nothing wrong with hot dogs. There ain't nothing wrong with chicken sandwiches or chicken fingers. Those are great. But this is a hamburger stand.
Right.
And so here we produce hamburgers.
And I think that's a really, really great metaphor, because it's like, don't try to convince yourself to like hamburgers if you really like chicken fingers. And I think that's the thing that, I remember Sarah Orton in one of our BHCs saying this. It's like, we should celebrate these moments, particularly with our trainees. We should celebrate these moments, and even BHCs.
That's true.
Where it's like, I just don't think this work aligns with my values.
I thought that it did.
I
watched your stupid little video where you put it all on the table. I was on board, and then I got here, and I wouldn't give it within 6 months. I'd give it a full year.
I would give it at least a
full year, possibly 2 years. But after 2 years, if this is not for you, then it's not for you.
Correct, 100%. So wrapping up, we just, as always, let us know, and maybe even what you all have found as far as like the informed consent process about these are kind of like the non-negotiables, these are the days. How do you get people to really understand that as they're applying? And grace, love, and compassion for everybody within these videos, and definitely let us know where your mind goes. Any other final thoughts that you have?
No.
All right, as always, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks.